also Christmas watch along special, joined by the man himself. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Aaron. I do a wrestling YouTube channel called WrestlingbyWooldridge. I've been on Barry's show before. He's been on my show. Love doing collabs. So yeah, great to be here. I've just noticed you've got a Christmas jumper on. I completely forgot to put mine on, so I do apologise.
I'm disappointed in that, man, but it's fine. I've got the Simpsons one on, and I've actually got a reindeer collar top on, so I'm making it up. Double Christmas myself. There's me injured and putting the effort in, but just don't worry about it. Man, so tell people the match that we picked that you picked for us to kind of watch.
Okay, so I guess this kind of makes it's quite relevant actually. So the match we're going to watch is Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar from WrestleMania 31. That one where Seth Rollins cashes in, heist of the century. Yeah, great match. So just wanted to go and relive that one.
Just hopefully that the one coming up is going to be as good as what this one is, but WWE, they'll find a way to just drain every bit of life out of it so that we get to watch it for the next 6 years probably. But man, listen, thanks for being on the show. If people who are listening to this, if you've not checked out your channel, go see it. You have great content, a lot better than me, production value, putting stuff into it, getting research. I do swing it and talk shit, but I'm the talk shit corner of the wrestling community. Everybody else has got their stuff together, not me. But man, thanks for being on. So this WrestleMania is one of those manias that for me, this was round about the time when I first started getting back into wrestling, because I had my poor fallout with it when I broke my neck. I couldn't compete, and then wrestling got terrible for a good couple of years. There was a Miz getting the championship and stuff. It was bad, right? But this was probably the first time I really got back into it, because Sting and Triple H and that kind of jazz. Because you all know I'm a big Sting mark. But what's your thoughts on this WrestleMania as a whole?
I do remember watching this actually. I've got pretty fond memories of it, to be honest. It's not perfect, but it's got some really good matches dotted in there. You obviously got Orton and Seth. We spoke off air about Cena and Rusev. That was a great little feud as well. There's the one with the ladder match at the beginning as well, isn't it? Where Daniel Bryan wins. Sorry, probably not a match.
No, I don't think there's a terrible match in this card. Really, everything's pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. And the match we're now about to watch, everyone remembers this WrestleMania because this is kind of what made Seth Rollins. So yeah, definitely one of the better WrestleManias for sure.
And I just want to say this is what leads into the Sting Seth Rollins kind of thing, and Sting gets injured, and that literally made me dislike Seth Rollins for a good 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. I think this year I just came round to him again, but I had grudges, and that was but for me, one of the worst matches in this card is Taker versus Bray Wyatt. It was like watching your childhood just like crumble in front of you. Do you know what I mean? It was horrible.
I think this was around the time where Taker just, you were just like, oh, this is maybe just one too many, I think. But
and he still had a few after this, which we'll just totally forget about it. We'll just say this is when he ended his career. But, and then what we'll do is, if everybody loads up the network or wherever you find it, we're at 3 hours, 32 and 26. We'll click start just whenever, like just now, whatever. I don't know how to work it. I always feel awkward when you say click start. I've clicked it, it's played, and we'll just kind of sit back. We'll just sit back, watch it, enjoy it, chat shit, and moan about modern wrestling. Because somebody the other day I was talking to was like, it's no like Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar recently, has they been like the classics of 2014? I was like, whoa, you can't say 2014 is classic here. Come on, calm down. I'm not that old.
I know, right? I'm so interested now as well, though, like with the dynamic they got going on where Reigns is now the heel and Lesnar's the face. It's interesting. But what I do find interesting as well is just how big a Roman feels now, if you know what I mean. I think back here, you were kind of like, oh, Roman, is he really on Lesnar's level? But now it's like, wow, like Reigns Lesnar, that is a big time match, isn't it?
So they're so good at storytelling. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Paul Heyman's obviously in there as well, because everybody forgets that they've done this match before. Like, we've seen this multiple times, but everybody wants to see it at day one again. It's exciting, and it's kind of shows wrestling is kind of just out. The two guys might not be the best wrestlers, but they're telling that story, and people want to see it.
I mean, look at, like Hogan Andre, for instance. Obviously, that isn't going to be the best match in terms of work. But the story of it, with Hogan body slamming Andre and building up to that, it's what makes wrestling great, isn't it? At the end of the day, story is what gets us all into it. So,
and that's my gripe with AEW is the stories aren't always the best, and some of it is just about flips, and then when they try story, it's just like talking. This guy's talking to this guy next week, and I'm like, I don't care about somebody doing that.
They do show it. They do have matches where it's like, oh, this is a really good story. Like I watched the steel cage match between the Lucha Bros and Young Bucks the other day, and when I went into it, because I've only watched it the once before, watched it again, I was like, oh, guarantee this probably won't have much of a story. But it did tell a really good story, man. It was a Young Bucks match, and yeah, man, they can do it, but sometimes I think they just neglect it a little bit, which is a shame. But like MJF and Darby Allin, man, from the recent pay-per-view, that was such a good match, man.
Darby Allin's. I've got the NWC awards thing that I do. Oh, this is my second Christmas doing this, but so it's this year. Darby Allin's my Man of the Year. This our recording here comes out after this has came out, so people won't. I'm not spoiling anything for anybody who's watched that and then this, but he's honestly my favourite wrestler at the minute. He feels like a young Jeff Hardy, which is just, it's good to see, but I think it's like, can he be a world champion? No yet, but...
not yet, but I think you've got to, eventually. He's just so different, isn't he? Like you say, he's that Jeff Hardy, isn't he? So,
he's just special, like one of those once in a generation, like, weird guys.
He's also one of those blokes like Brock Lesnar, where you don't need to put the title on him. He is an attraction at the end of the day, so which is great. Here comes Brock Lesnar. I love these video entrances, man. Like fireworks.
See, recently with like his wee ponytail and then like the jeans that he's been wearing and stuff, I'm like, do you think he just does stuff like that just to see if somebody says something to him because he's so scary looking? But that looks fantastic, Brock. Just do what you want.
He looked good early, didn't he? Christ. Every time you see him, it's like, oh, the guy is an absolute animal.
We remember him back when he first came in, so like that kind of early period as well. Like, I remember first time I saw him, I was like, this guy, he's like, this is a professional wrestler. He's just looks insane.
He is just like one of a kind, isn't he? Like, you can. This thing, you compare this guy to like MMA fighters and stuff, and you're like, this guy's legit. That's the word to describe him, just legit.
He's just a scary looking guy as well, and he's probably the nicest person ever. But he just
like he's not a people person, is he? But you do hear like a lot of the guys saying he is a bit of a brother. Like you can just go up to him and have a chat to him.
People would say the same thing about me, man. Dude, people just literally, he's not a people person. But come and talk to me. I'm happy, but I don't go out my way to have a conversation with somebody. I'm like, just leave me alone. I'm going through my day. Just don't annoy me.
I'm the same.
Obviously, not to Brock Lesnar standards, because he's like probably like me and you put together.
He just hasn't kept his eyes off Reigns, has he?
See, even like the wee storytelling like that, you miss that in wrestling as well. People forget.
It's a little detail.
And how much, I was talking about this the other day on a podcast, is how much AEW has turned it around. Because I remember me and you sat here in, was it March? I think March or April time, really like slating AEW, how they've got a lot to good talent, but they're kind of got a long way to go. I would say they're definitely half turned it round. No other way, but half turned it round.
Yeah, they're getting there, aren't they? Like slowly but surely. I find it funny as well, like how just because the ratings have dropped and everyone's like, oh, they're in the mud, they're finished, I was like, no, it's just you can't expect it. The Reigns there, just like shaking his head.
Looks so different compared to what he looks now, which is weird because he looks the same as well.
I think it's the hair, isn't it? Like, because obviously he has it tied back now, but.
I see. I wouldn't know about hair, man. I try to avoid looking at hair because I miss mine too much.
With AEW, you know, I think they're always gonna dip and get better, aren't they? At the end of the day, it's never gonna be constantly.
It's silly, man, when people are sitting saying like, "Oh, it's only 900,000 people that's watching it weekly." That's a lot of people to watch. Imagine if it was like our YouTube show, or a video was getting 900,000 a week. You'd be like, "What?"
He's old as well. You know, at the end of the day, WWE, you know, they get 2 million views, but they've been around for a long time. Like, people know what the WWE is all about. There's still people that, because AEW hasn't been around so long, there's still people that aren't encouraged to watch it, maybe. So, you know, over time, I think it can only bring more people in, I would have thought.
And if anybody wants to know, we're still heading up for the first high up for so the WrestleMania entrances and all the kind of jazz, but it's just getting started, and it's going to be.
Oh, I love this opener, man. Straight away.
I think probably one of the feuds of this recent era of wrestling that's been really great has been Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. It's a story that's been since 2014 right up till 2022. It's going to be. It's just a fun match, fun show as well.
Great rivalry, isn't it? I love that F5, man. So good. Right out of the gate, just.
Also, I love how Brock Lesnar always has a wee bit of blood, and just, obviously nobody's saying anything to him about it. Not going to get him into trouble. There's no fines because size him. How can you argue with him?
True. Yeah. Oh man, Roman Reigns is such a good seller. So good. I think that is something that I think that is probably my biggest problem with AEW, the selling. It's there's certain moments where it's just stay down just for an extra 10, 20 seconds. Let the crowd lap it up, but it's just on to the next segment,
My problem still with AEW, and it has been since day one, is they're trying to please everybody too much. Have a plan and go with it. You don't have to give every fan something to love. Just have a plan and go with it. That's what WWE is good at. Maybe they go with it too much, as in nobody likes this, but we've got a plan, so we'll just stick with it. But AEW sometimes just let's just give every fan something that they can really enjoy, and then it kind of makes the show feel a wee bit like this past Wednesday. There was a match, then a run-in attack match, aftermath attack match, and it's just
I think I'm glad the roster, the hiring guys are giving guys jobs and the roster is big and everything. You get a fresh matchup all the time. But I think the problem is Tony Khan is just trying to fit everything into one show. But it just feels a bit too, nothing is able to breathe. If you know what I mean?
I think he needs to slow down. That's what I was saying in my review this week as well. Just relax. Take your time. You've got years. You should be planning for years, not to get all this story done now. Adam Page and Daniel Bryan's got a match next week, and it's
yeah, I thought that was going to go on till Revolution, but I mean that is March, isn't it? So I guess that makes sense. Roman is just being Suplex City, bitch. That's where I was born.
Paul Heyman's fantastic as well. That guy has pretty much been professional wrestling since mid-90s, ECW, then WWF and all that kind of stuff. He's just been cool.
Like look at his face, like his facial work as well, man. Like he reacts to everything going on. It's great. So he's, in my opinion, like the best manager of all time, by a country mile. You know, there's some good ones there. There's some really good ones, but man, Heyman is so good.
Just because we were talking about the Young Bucks and then a manager came up there. If you ever watch Jim Cornette, he calls them Young Fucks, and every single time that somebody says Young Bucks, all I can hear is Jim Cornette saying Young Fucks, and I'm like, it's going to stay with me for the rest of my life, because sometimes you do, when people are like, it's another thing with not just AEW but WWE, you get some people, it's like you can kind of see they're doing tongue-in-cheek for the wrestling community, and it's like, just let it, stop saying they're trolling or whatever. But and then something that has became good this year is opening matches of a show. AEW and WWE put on great opening matches. Like we had a steel cage match in Raw, which was fun and stupid for having the world champion open up the show.
I didn't even know what that match was booked, to be honest with you, but
It's because AEW done something, and also everybody keeps talking about NFL, but then everybody forgets that the rest of the world don't really watch American football.
I must admit, man, when we get like these American references, it's hard. I'm just like, just go straight over my head. I think I play.
Same as the TV ratings. All TV ratings that we see are all just the American ratings. It's like, well, what about the rest of the world? Is WWE like getting like 20 million views a week when AEW's getting 10 million? Like, that's good for. I swear to God, if my channel ever gets big to get 900,000 people watching it, I'll be like, I'm alright. I'm not doing bad.
That's life, isn't it? I love these knee strikes from Lesnar, man. It's just so intense. You got to think, like, when you watch Lesnar like throw punches or throw knees, they just look. I actually do think they're proper like legit. He's not holding much back, to be honest. The
best one is with Braun Strowman, when Braun's like poor, and he just like hits him, and you're like, how did you take that guy out? He's so much bigger and heavier than you, and it's like, that's how he's scary. But for me, Lesnar, it was at his best back against Undertaker in 2003. I'd say that time it was just fantastic, and that's when he learned a lot of storytelling that he brought forward. Plus, I liked the Hell in a Cell that he done. I was going to say recently, but apparently that's classics.
Do you think Edge will ever get in there with Brock? I hope not.
I don't want to see that match. It happened before, didn't it? Like back in 2002.
Yeah.
And it was pretty shit. Like it was pretty. It was like Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy done a thing with Brock Lesnar as well when he was like super new, and it was just wasn't good.
It might be better now, just because I think Edge might have. Oh my God, that was a vicious clothesline. Lesnar just puts a beating on him.
I think Edge should be going for. The one guy I keep saying that Edge should be against is Damien Priest. Let them win a program, do over 2 pay-per-views, and then like do a retirement match or some shit. That looked pretty.
Yeah, that was legit. That was 8 hours. You could tell. Oh my God, Lesnar's busted up.
See, the best thing about this as well is there is some moves that's happening. You can be like, was that real? How did they do that? Yeah, even for somebody that knows it as well. We've watched it for years. I actually done it. Some of them you can be like, was that real? But when you do watch some stuff, you can see that you're like, you're not anywhere near that person. This is pish. They just ruined my night.
Yeah, man. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. I'm watching a wrestling match and you can tell it's just like you remember Cena's punches, man. It's like, mate, make it look real.
It's like we all know the rock bottom wasn't real, but it did seem like it would have hurt if somebody. Because if you're at a playground or in your friend's house and they hurt you with that elbow, it hurt.
I remember as a kid, I was like, what makes that so good? It's just because the Rock does it. Like, it's an amazing elbow. I think, I'm surprised Lesnar doesn't go. I guess he's just toying with him, or he doesn't go for as many covers.
I think it's just he's trying to show like he's better than doesn't need to stress about it. And
Roman's like the guy. Oh, lovely belly to belly.
I was coming up with a couple of video ideas for January, and one of them is Brock Lesnar's one of the greatest wrestlers that's been here in 20 years. He's legit the only guy that I can be like, if somebody's like, I talk about professional wrestling, or Roman Reigns, which I say new because it's like a modern one, and I'm like Brock Lesnar because you can put on one of his matches and be like, shit, that looks like it killed that guy.
And that's the thing, like, his moveset now is so limited, isn't it? German suplex, couple of strikes, F5. That's really all he's got, but just his intensity and just the way, like, you know, the way his matches are structured, how he starts off in control and then he obviously sells, doesn't he, later on in the match.
It's because generally you think if you had to try and fight him, he could probably German suplex you. Like, well, no, he could. No, even probably. Just he would.
I think it's German suplex. Like when German suplex is like Rey Mysterio or something like that. He just flies to the other side of the ring. That's great. Some of these guys bump. And I think when he faced Bryan, I think Bryan kept landing on his head a few times. I think it's just impressive though when you see this guy like German suplex, like Braun Strowman and Keith Lee, Samoa Joe.
You're just naming people that don't exist in WWE anymore.
What my god! Honestly, man, I couldn't believe it when Strowman got released. I was like, if there's one guy that I would never expect Vince McMahon to get rid of, it's Braun Strowman, because it's a Vince McMahon guy, isn't it? It's crazy.
But they made that out of him, didn't they? Like, it was just he's never really had like a great, like he had that tag team thing with the kid, and then he was a cage match with Shane McMahon, and just kind of
his promo ability as well, man. It was just wasn't that great, was it? But I think the problem with Strowman was, remember when he had that big old feud with Roman, when he was like a mock heel? That should have been the time when they put the title on him, because I do think he would have just gone from strength to strength. But yeah, they just didn't. They were all about Roman at the time, weren't they? So
I just think it's just such an awkward. Like, Strowman should be a star. Like, he has everything to be a star, but
yeah,
I don't know. Just I can't buy into him at all. Like, even as a monster, I'm like, it doesn't seem like he would be. He doesn't seem like he should be a main eventer. Just that, you know, like, I know Big Show has won the belt, but he feels like a Big Show guy. Like, just when you've got nobody else to give the belt to, give it to him. It's like a wee busy kind of period, but aye, it's just a weird situation, and WWE just seem to be, I don't know what's happening there at all.
It's all over the place, man. I did like your video the other day when you said about them getting ready to sell. That's interesting.
For me, is from putting a business hat on, that's what I would be doing, and I think they're going to get ready to sell to Amazon or Netflix or something like that to get up the sports streaming side, because places want to buy more sports, because that's where there's a lot of money, obviously. So you got movies, Netflix is looking to expand into games, so is Amazon, and already making tons after that, and then move into sports, which but
yeah,
I wouldn't complain if it was on Netflix or Amazon. It'd be weird.
I hope we don't get Peacock, man, because I'm pretty sure they're looking to come over here.
That's already on Now TV. Peacock started on Sky. Now Sky has that Now TV thing, so
yeah,
it probably is going to end up being on a Sky exclusive or something.
Yeah, probably.
There's blood, people. This is when you can start to buy in.
This is what I love about wrestling, man, when it's just a physical fight. Like, yeah, give me this type of match any day. That's why you watch it, isn't it?
I don't need to see this match like every week. Is it people always like you can't do this every Monday or Friday? I'm like, I don't want to see I want to see it at a pay-per-view. But tell me the story. Give me the reason to buy in and watch the thing.
Yeah, Superman punch. Oh, Roman's facial expression there, man.
I still don't understand why people hated Roman Reigns. I always thought he was good. Like I just.
I think it was the creative behind him. I think, I think it just all became a bit too predictable in the end. Like,
and now we love it. If you look at Twitter, people still hate him. But
yeah, I don't know, mate. Oh, missed it. Oh, this is awesome. Roman with a headbutt. He's probably just going for it, isn't he? No, man, he's selling there. That's something these days, man. People it's like they've only just started the match, like when they're hitting all these moves. But I love it when, like, later on in the match, when the wrestler's, he's got the momentum, but he's still selling that exhaustion, man. It's so good. Oh, spear.
I always love just like when, like, after the pay-per-view as well, like, the Monday Night Raw after it would be kept there'll be guys kept to be on that card, but then the guys who were on, for instance, WrestleMania, will turn up and they've got like a bandage on their head and they're selling their ribs that they got hurt in the match or whatever. Like, you don't get that anymore. It's like the next night you've got them, well, fucking Hell in the Cell. Next night you had Bobby Lashley pretty much back out there.
Yeah.
Which was.
Oh. Do you think Lesnar Lashley is going to happen?
I'm not even going to try and predict WWE. I hope it does.
I hope so. I do think they're, I think they're throwing hints here and there. So I do think maybe they are going to do it at WrestleMania. Not this year. I think it might be next year. I hope so. Like, oh, that would be so good. Look at him. I remember, man, when that music played, I do remember I was going mental. I remember there was a guy I used to watch on YouTube, and he was live here, and he vlogged it, and he's just like, oh my god, it's Seth Rollins!
And what's your thoughts on Big E being a champion? For me, compared to Roman, I feel it's like second place. And also, people are going to think I'm either, I've been told I've been racist, I've been all these different names. What I'm saying is, Big E doesn't need that belt. He's a selling point himself, but he could have brought a lot more name value to like Intercontinental, United States. Give him a good year run with that. But what's your thoughts on it, man?
I do think I do like him with the title. I think it's just there's certain things he does. I don't know, like I feel like he still needs a bit of a character change, like an attitude change a bit. But he goes and does the old like shaking his hips still and stuff like that. And I'm just like, is that really WWE Championship material? 1, 2, 3. What a great nibble. Yeah, I don't mind Big E as champion, but I see what you're saying. It is definitely underwhelming when you compare it to Roman.
I just think like you said, character change for Big E would be fantastic, but if you could do that in the format of here's a US belt, you're going to hold this for a year and a half and be this unstoppable monster, turn on New Day, tell her the story.
Yeah, man. He'd be a great monster, wouldn't he, I think.
I think that would be fantastic. And just now, I just think it doesn't make sense. It was like, give this guy the belt, and I just think it would just be. There's a lot more that you could do with it. But this was a fantastic match, man.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Roman's getting a win is
just. They've made him to the moment they've made Rollins.
I think I'm going to watch a few Raws and stuff for this year because I've totally forgot how fun this is. But this is the moments that make us wrestling fans. When people say that we bitch about wrestling too much, these are the moments that we still love to watch. And I know people say this was a long time ago. Don't make us feel any older than what we already are. No, man, what's your thoughts on the match? How did, like, from when you picked it, have you watched it recently? Was this the first time going back to it? Was it as good as you remember? What's your...
I think this is probably maybe like the third time I watched it, but yeah, it's a really good match. It's definitely as good as I remember it. It's just such an intense. I think if I was going to like rate it just off the top of my head, it would definitely be like 4.5, maybe something like that. You know, it's just a proper fight, really intense. You know, the blood in there was great, made it dramatic. Great, we've already talked about the selling from both guys, so the psychology was good. Yeah, man, it's a really good match. I definitely think it's as good as the first time I watched it. Sure.
This is only the second time, so I've seen it when I first watched it, and this is the second time that I've watched it, and it's just as fun as I remember. I would say 4.5, same as you, and I don't think there's anything you can really nitpick at it. It's a cool ending, the way the Money in the Bank should be used.
Yeah. I think this moment will probably go down as one of the best WrestleMania moments in history. Rollins, it was just such a great moment for sure.
I think it's just, again, I think that's what we're missing in WWE at the minute. Is just that unpredictable must-watch TV feeling. Like there's no anything that we don't really know what's going to happen. But then WWE probably are going to be positioning themselves to start looking at those contracts coming up in AEW. Or we can offer you a couple of million to come over here. All right, I'm going over to Raw. I don't care what you do with me. Put me in a gold mask. Then it'll be must-watch kind of TV. See what's going to happen over there. And another thing, just on that point, is when people moan about being in WWE, like as a wrestler or whatever, and they leave, and then they moan about it, and it's like, but they paid you a shit ton of money. Like, you could dress me up in a golden thong and pay me what you get paid. I don't care. Like, send me out there and take a piss at me. I'll do it for what, 300,000-400,000 a year. I'll get signed for 5 years. You're all right. I'll do that.
Exactly, man. It does make sense for guys to go over there. And at the end of the day, they do. You know, you can't deny that WWE are really good at their fundamentals. Like they know how to work a wrestling match. That's what they teach all their guys to do, how to work a wrestling match, not just wrestle but work. And I think you can see that in guys, you know, now like Cody Rhodes, Andrade, Malachi Black, Bryan, Punk. I know these guys obviously worked elsewhere before the WWE, but it's where they learn like the psychology and the storytelling. So,
what's your feelings on, just before we end the final couple of questions on the podcast, what's your feelings on the WWE nil thing when they're hiring young like guys right out of college? What's your feelings on that?
I'm a bit mixed on it. I mean, I don't really like it too much because I don't think it's given. They've pretty much said we're not going to give any opportunities to like indie talent, which is a shame. You know, for a person who wants to wrestle, you know, that's kind of where they go, isn't it? They go start off at the indies, but WWE want them to go. I don't know. So there is that, but I think it is quite exciting as well because at the end of the day, these are the guys. You know that these guys won't get messed around, won't you? You know, there's guys in NXT 2.0 like Bron Breakker, Tony D'Angelo, and I think it's safe to say that these guys won't really get changed when they go up to the main roster. So it is going to be cool to see guys from the ground up from this new thing they're doing. So yeah, it's a bit hit and miss for me.
I think it will be good, man. I think it's just going to be. We already get guys that come through like that NFL background or college background, but I see what they're doing. But I think see if they have the indie talent and those guys mix it together, it would just make NXT better than what it was and get rid of that Sesame Street look that they have.
I mean, that's before, didn't they? You know, you've got guys like Roman Reigns, but you also had Seth Rollins, who was Tyler Black at the Indies. John Moxley, obviously, who was in the Indies at the time. So, like you say, yeah, at the beginning of NXT, they did have a nice mixture before they kind of went full indie. But so hopefully, yeah, like you say, they do still pick up great indie talent here and there. But yeah, no, I think a lot of people are putting hate on it, but I don't think it deserves it. I think it's going to be good.
And it's wrestling at the end of the day. So the way I end this one is, obviously this is coming out just before Christmas. The 19th, Christmas is coming up. So I'm sure we'll all be stuffing ourselves full of tons of food, because I know I will. But what's one, not even just one thing, what's your wee monologue about why you love wrestling? If you want me to go first, I can, because mine's is just, it's the best sport ever. You've got the drama, the story, the... You look at the internet wrestling community, much as people bitch about it, obviously they get people who take it too far with like the hate stuff, but people care about this so much, and I think it's the best sport ever, because I don't need to deal with watching football. I grew up in Glasgow, Celtic and Rangers. People have literally died because of it. I don't need to deal with that. I can sit and watch it, and we can chat, disagree, and have fun fantasy booking it, and it might come true. Why do you love wrestling, man?
So, I mean, there is a few reasons, obviously, but maybe I could put it like this. So, when I grew up, obviously I studied drama at university, so I've always been into, like, you know, that drama element. I'm a big fan of TV shows and movies, but I'm also a big fan of combat sports. I'm into boxing. So when you've got something that merges drama and combat sports together, that's just my cup of tea. And I think that's why I love wrestling. You know, you've got these really cool stories. There's a bit like a soap opera in a way. And then you've got the great matches. And, you know, like I do on my channel, where I like to break down matches. I think that has one reason why I love wrestling, just getting into the nitty gritty, you know, just bits of psychology and storytelling here and there. And like you say, man, it's just the moments as well. Like the match we just watched, when you see a moment like that where you don't expect it, where Seth Rollins runs out and it's just that buzz you get. And, you know, man, like doing this YouTube thing is just, because beforehand, I never really knew many people who were into wrestling, so it was very much like an introverted thing. But now being able to share it with guys like yourself and Steve from SCW and just other content creators is, yeah, just makes it even better. So, yeah, man, love wrestling. We'll never not.
Well, I definitely agree with that as well. The YouTube stuff has, because the people that I know from wrestling either work in WWE or they're still wrestling in indies and stuff like that, and I can't do that anymore because I hurt my neck, so I can't get back into it, and I don't want to take time out of my life in training now for the stuff that I do to go back into it. And being able to talk to you guys, like fans of wrestling, and just chat and bullshit about wrestling, obviously just rant, that YouTube stuff really helps. Just, I don't know, enjoy it a wee bit better, if that makes sense, but I'll never stop watching wrestling. I'll be an old man, 98 years old, sitting, no teeth, still shouting about how back in my day it was better, because it probably will be. But aye, man, thanks for being on. So where do you want people to go check you? YouTube, Twitter is in the links below. Anywhere else? You got TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest, I don't know. You got anywhere else?
I don't have a TikTok, but I must admit I've been thinking about it. But no, I do. I have an Instagram and a Twitter, obviously, like Mary just said, WrestlingbyW. I'm on YouTube as well, obviously, WrestlingbyWooldridge. I am on a bit of a hiatus at the minute, but I am coming back. Like, I've got a couple of videos in mind for next week. It's not like I've been gone for ages, it's just like a couple of weeks. But yeah, no, I mainly do analysis videos where I go through like matches and I try to break them down in a unique way. Do some other stuff here and there as well. So yeah, please check me out. But massive thanks to Barry for having me on. Hardest working YouTuber right here, man. Don't listen to it when he says his content is rubbish, because it's not. It's great. I love it.
It's just me shouting, man. Like you said, you break it down and stuff like that. I just shout because, well, I can. That's what I'm here for. Definitely go check your channel out, whoever's listening to this, because it's fantastic, great content. I love the fantasy booking of AEW's Owen Hart kind of tournament thing. That was fantastic. So what I'll do, man, is I'll end the recording here and I'll let you know the after stuff, right?
Cheers, buddy.